And we begin with what is shaping up to be a blockbuster summer on the presidential campaign trail. The president and his challenger both fired up this afternoon in a pair of battleground states, and a brand new national poll showing the two men locked in a dead heat, 47% apiece. The president carried his message of middle-class tax cuts for 98% of the population to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, just moments ago, where he sounded a bullhorn in the name of equality.
Our goal is to put people back to work, but it's also to build an economy where that work pays off. An economy in which everybody, whether they start a business or they're punching a clock, can have confidence that if you work hard, you can get ahead. That's what this campaign is about.
Meantime, Mitt Romney, with a sunny disposition after his week-long holiday on the lake and weekend at the Hamptons, was in the swing state of Colorado and swinging as far right as we've heard him. At a town hall event in Grand Junction, Mr. Romney railed against that old enemy of the state, liberalism.
But this old-style liberalism of bigger and bigger government and bigger taxes has got to end, and we will end it in November.
Yes, even the presumptive Republican nominee, surrounded by friendly faces, seems to know that he's not running as Mr. Romney, whoever that is. He's running as Mr. I'm not the president. And in that sense, his attack on the president, well, it felt rather wooden.
By putting money into energy companies, solar and wind energy companies that end up making their products outside the United States. If there's an outsourcer in chief, it's the president of the United States, not the guy who's running to replace him.
Yes, there you have it. It takes one to know one moment from Mr. Romney, but one suspects that even he knows that better than to play the outsourcing card. Or maybe he'll continue with his tour of falsehoods, like saying Obamacare is bad for jobs, or that the president wants to raise taxes on the middle class, or that the president goes around the world apologising for America. Of course, saying it doesn't make it true, but that doesn't stop Mr. Romney. Let's get right to our panel now in Washington. David Corn, MSNBC political analyst and Washington editor and bureau chief for Mother Jones magazine. Eugene Robinson, also an MSNBC analyst and a columnist for the Washington Post. And Democratic strategist Julian Epstein. Welcome, gentlemen. Eugene, I guess you have to give credit to Mr. Romney for delivering a bravura performance of rope-a-dope. He's taken an absolute hiding on the issue of his offshore investments, lack of transparency, but instead of addressing any of those questions, he speaks contemptuously of liberals. Once again, it's never vote for me because I have policies and a vision. It's vote against him. He's the liberal.
It's all vote against him. I mean, the Romney folks figure that's the best card they have to play, that he's not, his name is not Barack Obama, and he hasn't been president for the last several years, and he's a business guy, but he doesn't want to talk too much about what he did as a business guy because that won't be terribly popular, and he certainly doesn't want to talk about his personal finances. So point the finger at the liberals and try to somehow turn this outsourcing thing back on President Obama, which is really bizarre, even, I think, for the Romney campaign.
Well, indeed, it is bizarre. We'll come to that in a moment. David, I want, if I may, to play you a rare moment of honesty from Mitt Romney during a CNN debate in January. Take a listen to this, David.
Why not should the people of South Carolina, before this election, see last year's return?
Because I want to make sure that I beat President Obama. And every time we release things, drip by drip, the Democrats go out with another array of attacks.
There you have it, David. That's the truth, isn't it? He can't say anything about his personal finances. He won't reveal his tax returns because voters are likely to turn against him and he won't win the election.
I'm surprised, Martin, that I have to tell you one of the basic facts of life.
Please
and that
do.
is, if you have a Swiss bank account, you don't talk about it. I mean, the whole point of having these offshore accounts is to not reveal what's in them. I mean, come on, everybody. Let's get real here. I mean, this is Mitt Romney at his core. He knew for years he was running for president. He knew in 2007. He knew he'd be doing it again. And he has just decided that, damn it all, I'm not going to make this stuff public. You know, there's this company, Sanctity, a Bermuda company that Vanity Fair and AP wrote about, and we don't know what happens there. There are questions about his IRA. I mean, there are so many questions about his personal finances, whether he avoided taxes, whether he did anything perhaps improper or just maybe illegal. And he has just decided he is not going to drip, drip, drip give us answers to those questions. That's because he's Mitt Romney, and he believes he doesn't have to.
Indeed. Julian, Mitt Romney did address his offshore accounts and taxes again last night, speaking in that voice he learned at Harvard Law School. Take a listen to this, Julian.
With regards to any foreign investments, I understand, and you understand, of course, that my investments have been held by a blind trust, have been managed by a trustee. I don't manage them, don't even know where they are.
Julian, you are an attorney at law. This is a man who called Ted Kennedy's blind trust the age-old ruse back in 1994. Have the laws about blind trusts changed? Help me.
No, it hasn't. And his knowledge of not just his blind trust, but all of his other financial activities. David actually had a tremendous story last week about a waste disposal company that he was involved in that dealt with aborted fetuses. The list of his personal finances and the stories about it just goes on and on and on and on. And I think David is right. This is the last thing that he wants to talk about, but the story keeps coming back. And, you know, as far as this point about social liberalism, I mean, look, he had a terrible – he thought he could win the debate on immigration. He lost that debate on immigration. He thought he could win the debate on health care, and that didn't turn out so well on him. He is running away from this debate on taxes right now, not just because of his personal financial situation, not just because the tax proposal that Obama made yesterday would affect less than 3% of businesses, but because taxes in this country are already at 15% of the economy. It's the lowest in 50 years. So he really has no place to go everywhere he turns. We've had the Manchurian candidate. This is the mannequin candidate. The mannequin candidate that has absolutely no proposals of his own other than to speak in aphorisms about cutting taxes, when, again, taxes are at the lowest that we've had in 50 years. And so this is nothing other than I'm not the other guy.
Right, and of course he now castigates liberalism as well. Eugene, when you look at the polling, the President and Romney are neck and neck at 47%. Does that explain the subject of your column today, where you focus on Republican efforts to suppress the vote in Pennsylvania, where you say almost 10% of the electorate could be affected? I mean, is this how Romney potentially wins the presidency? He doesn't talk about his personal finances, and he relies on states suppressing the vote.
You know, I think I would worry about this, Martin, at least as much as I worry about Mitt Romney. I mean, let's face it, Mitt Romney is not a perfect vessel for Republicanism, for Republican ideas. He's not a perfect candidate. He has vulnerabilities, and Barack Obama is a very good politician. But these voter suppression efforts, this campaign that's nationwide, is more than worrisome. It's really an abomination. I wrote about Pennsylvania, where the House Majority Leader sort of let slip that, now we have voter ID, and that will allow Mitt Romney to win Pennsylvania. And the way they'll do it is by kicking a bunch of potential Democratic voters off the voting rolls by requiring them to have photo ID. This is happening in state after state, and it is very serious. I do hope that the courts eventually intervene and stop what I think is just an assault on democracy.
David, sure, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Gene had a tremendous column in the Washington Post today, but it's important for viewers to understand that somewhere between 10 and 20% of all registered voters don't have photo identifications.
Sure.
And in many places, like in Texas, you have these offices that issue these photo IDs that are located hundreds of miles away from a particular community. And the data is overwhelming, the impact on Hispanics and African Americans, the potential impact that this could have. And this is supposed to fix a problem, according to Republicans, of in-person voter fraud. It's been studied in Kansas. It's been studied in Ohio. It's been studied all over the country. It doesn't exist. Even under the Bush Justice Department, there were only a handful of cases that were prosecuted during the entire 8 years. This is a problem that doesn't exist, and this is aimed to disenfranchise somewhere between 10 and 20% of all registered voters.
And David,
Julian, there were no cases prosecuted by that Bush effort that would be fixed by voter ID. No cases of impersonation, which is the only kind of voter fraud that would be fixed by voter ID. This is a solution in search of a problem.
And David, it is about disenfranchising Democratic voters, isn't it?
Well, of course. I mean, there's a long tradition in American politics of trying to rig the rules in your favor. That way you have an edge. This is going to be, by all indications, a tremendously close election. I hope it's not a repeat of 2000, but we could get to that. I mean, it's 47-47 across the country. You have all these, different polls in different swing states, and it seems as if neither candidate so far has the potential to pull away from the other candidate. So we'll be biting our nails until then. So, you can aim at 10-20% of the population, but really, if you just dissuade 1%, 0.5%, maybe 0.25% in a certain state from voting, that could do the trick in this case. And I would commend to people, not just Gene's column, but Kevin Drum did an excellent piece on all this voter ID stuff in our latest issue of Mother Jones.
Okay,
and
enough of your self-publications. David Corn, Eugene Robinson and Julian Epstein, stay with us. You're too smart to let go.